Sapiens, and it's written by Professor Yuval Noah Harari. And I found the book because it was recommended on a book list by Bill Gates. Bill Gates and later Barack Obama as one of the most influential books that both of them had read within the last 10 years. So if it was good enough for them, I had to check it out, and it absolutely blew my mind.
COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. What we have seen so far, it's corporations and governments collecting data about where we go, who we meet, what movies we watch. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. Mass surveillance systems established even in democratic countries, which previously rejected them. And we also see a change in the nature of surveillance. Previously, surveillance was mainly above the skin. Now it's going under the skin. Governments want to know not just where we go or who we meet. Above all, they want to know what is happening under our skin. What's our body temperature? What's our blood pressure? What is our medical condition? You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. We are now hackable animals.
Oh, hell no!
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for? What do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games. When I say that these are useless humans, it's not from the viewpoint of their mother, of the wife, or the son. It was always very difficult to be in charge of your destiny. What is unique now is that the big danger for people is no longer exploitation, it's irrelevance. I mean, previously in history, if you were on the wrong side of history, if you didn't understand what was happening and you lost the competition, then you ended up as some kind of serf or manual laborer being exploited by the people who understand and have the power. Now, if you're left behind, you're facing something far worse, which is to be completely irrelevant. They won't even need you as a serf or as a slave. They won't even need you as a serf or as a slave. The technology will, on the one hand, make it possible to start enhancing and upgrading humans, and on the other hand, especially the rise of AI, will make more and more humans economically unnecessary, useless, and therefore also politically powerless. And the world or humanity might have, different parts of humanity might have different futures. And we might see really a process of some kind of speciation. We don't really know ourselves. To give an example, when I was 21, I finally realized that I was gay. When I was 21, I finally realized that I was gay. After living for several years in denial. And this is not exceptional. A lot of gay men live in denial for many years. They don't know something very important about themselves. Now imagine the situation in 10 or 20 years when an algorithm can tell any teenager exactly where he or she is on the gay-straight spectrum, and even how malleable this position is.
And you see, The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
But on a much broader and deeper, from a deeper perspective, I think it really is going to shape the future of humanity and the future of life itself, because the new technologies will soon give some corporations and governments the ability to hack human beings. There is a lot of talk about hacking computers, smartphones, emails, bank accounts, but the really big thing is hacking human beings. To hack human beings, you need a lot of biological knowledge, a lot of computing power, and especially a lot of data. If you have enough data about me, and enough computing power and biological knowledge, you can hack my body, my brain, my life. You can reach a point when you know me better than I know myself. And once you reach that point, and we are very close to that point, then democracy, the free market as we have, and actually all political systems, also authoritarian regimes, we have no idea what happens once you pass that point. Data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. And if indeed we succeed in hacking and engineering life, this will be not just the greatest revolution in the history of humanity. This will be the greatest revolution in biology since the very beginning of life. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. So does the data about my DNA, my brain, my body, my life, does it belong to me or to some corporation or to the government or perhaps to the human collective? Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized. Everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
Vaccine won't help us go
the
to
vaccine
the test, of course.
will help us, of course. It will make things, you know, more manageable.
Surveillance, people could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin, which I think is maybe the most important development of the 21st century, is this ability to hack human beings, to go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves. This, I believe, is maybe the most important event of the 21st century.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it.
Natural selection is replaced by intelligent design. The era of inorganic life is now beginning.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. our intelligent design. This danger can be stated in the form of a simple equation, which I think might be the defining equation of life in the 21st century. B times C times D equals R, which means biological knowledge multiplied by computing power multiplied by data equals the ability to hack humans, R. If you know enough biology and you have enough computing power and data, you can hack my body and my brain and my life, and you can understand me better than I understand myself. You can know my personality type, my political views, my sexual preferences, my mental weaknesses, my deepest fears and hopes. You know more about me than I know about myself. And you can do that not just to me, but to everyone. A system that understands us better than we understand ourselves can predict our feelings and decisions, can manipulate our feelings and decisions, and can ultimately make decisions for us. Now, in the past, many tyrants and governments wanted to do it, but nobody understood biology well enough, and nobody had enough computing power and data to hack millions of people. Neither the Gestapo nor the KGB could do it. But soon, at least some corporations and governments will be able to systematically hack all the people. Data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. We are entering the era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. We should get used to the idea that we are now basically the gods of planet Earth. We have now divine powers of creation and destruction. As a species, we should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are really now hackable animals. Throughout history, lots of people, organizations, governments dreamt about hacking human beings. To hack a human being means to understand people better than they understand themselves. To know more about you than you know about yourself, and therefore be able to predict your decisions and feelings, and to manipulate and control you. This is what Stalin dreamt about, and Hitler, and the Catholic Church, and so many.
And it never worked.
It was impossible because there was no technology to do that. In the Soviet Union, you couldn't follow everybody all the time. Even Stalin and the KGB couldn't do it. You don't have 200 million agents to follow 200 million people 24 hours a day. And even if you do that, then these agents, they would just, write paper reports, where you go, who you meet, what you do, and they send these reports to Moscow, and then somebody needs to read all these paper reports and write more paper reports, and that's impossible. But now, or in a few years, it will be possible to systematically hack all the people, because you don't need human agents to follow everybody around. You have sensors and microphones and cameras and smartphones. It's the first time in history that you can follow everybody all the time. And the resulting information, you don't need people to analyze it. You have artificial intelligence and algorithms. So we are very close to the point when it will become possible to monitor everybody all the time, and then also to know you better than you know yourself.
So that means life is one big job interview. Everything that the machine knows can be held against you.
Yes. In 10 years, you go to a job interview for whatever, and they don't want your CV. They don't even want your job interview. It's unnecessary. Today, if I want to hire somebody for a job, I publish an ad, 100 people answer, I choose the 10 best CVs, I invite them for a job interview, 10 minutes, and I try to assess their personality or whatever. That's, very inefficient. In 10 years, or even today in some places, you don't need all that. You just mine their data. You have an algorithm that goes over their Facebook feed, their Instagram account, data from many places. And based on that, you can know their personality type, their political views, their sexual preferences, and the algorithm chooses who to hire for a job. So, which means that anything you do at any time is really part of the job interview. With the help of biotechnology and artificial intelligence, we will start changing what it means to be human. The main products of the economy in the 21st century will not be vehicles and tools and weapons. They will be bodies and brains and minds. Directly connecting the body in our brain to computers and to bionic parts, so we will become kind of cyborgs, part organic and part inorganic. You know, once you can connect directly brains and computers, you can, I mean, the idea that your entire body must be in the same place at the same time, I mean, my hands must be connected to my body in order to function. This is true of organic hands. It's not true of bionic hands. I can sit here and do this talk show and wash dishes at home at the same time because my brain can be connected to my bionic hands anywhere. There is quite a good chance that with the rise of artificial intelligence, hundreds of millions of people will lose their jobs, and we will see the creation of a new massive useless class. People who are not just unemployed, they are unemployable, they have no economic or military value, and what to do with the useless class might be the most important social and political question of the 21st century. A good two-way communication system, direct communication system between brains and computers, this is kind of the watershed moment. I mean, once you have a good two-way, nobody has any idea what happens after that. Well, I think maybe in a couple of decades when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian machines, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin. I think that the big process that's happening right now in the world is hacking human beings, the ability to hack humans, to understand deeply what's happening within you, what makes you go. And for that, the most important data is not what you read and who you meet and what you buy, it's what's happening inside your body. So we had these two big revolutions, the computer science revolution, or the infotech revolution, and the revolution in the biological sciences. And they are still separate, but they are about to merge.
History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do know that global energy systems, food systems and supply chains will be deeply affected.
But the fourth industrial revolution is actually changing ourselves. It's changing not only what we are doing, it's changing who we are. What the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities.
Smartphones and governments using that technology and a greater threat of surveillance. Can you talk to me about this, and do you think ultimately this is a good or a bad thing for civilization?
It could be good, but we need to be very careful about it. What's happening now, it's really a watershed in the history of surveillance. First of all, we see mass surveillance systems entering and being adopted in democratic countries which previously resisted them. Secondly, we see the nature of surveillance changing from over-the-skin surveillance to under-the-skin surveillance.
unless you invent a technology to control minds, there isn't a technological way to destroy the deep source of racism. I'm quite confident that we will gain a lot more power in the coming century, which will solve many of the problems that now bother us. But I'm also quite certain that this will lead to new problems which we can hardly even imagine today. So, what will become of us? I think that we will become gods, we will acquire divine powers of creation and destruction, but we will be dissatisfied gods. We have all this still myth of free will, that everything we choose is of our own free will. And this is a myth that served us well for a couple of centuries, but now it's becoming dangerous. Because when people believe that every decision they make reflects, why did you choose this? Oh, this is my free will. Then you're very uncurious about what's really happening inside your brain, inside your mind, and what kind of buttons and levers are being pressed. And, you know, as long as nobody can really mess with your brain and your mind, then you can believe in free will and there is no harm. But once somebody has privileged access to your inner reality, and it's not you, it's some corporation or government, then belief in free will becomes very, very dangerous. The easiest people to manipulate are the people who are convinced that their decision, I decided it, it's my free will. We do know how to produce emotions with greater and greater certainty, both in human collectives and in individuals. To the degree, you know, the most extreme cases is when in all kinds of medical procedures, you implant electrodes in people's brains, and you can, like with almost 100% certainty, you know, the doctor or the scientist presses a button and the person feels joy or fear. And then the mind generates a story why I felt fear. Like, we know the answer why you felt fear, because Dr. X just pressed this button. And it is connected by an electrode to your brain, to the center of the fear, to the amygdala or whatever. So this is why you felt fear. Right. But the mind, no. There is something frightening about this scene. This person looks to me very shady. And it comes up with a story.
Right.
And so we don't, again, I don't understand, we don't understand, but we can manipulate. The really big revolution, which is coming very quickly, will be when the AI revolution and machine learning and all that, the infotech revolution, meets and merges with the biotech revolution and goes under the skin. Now, up till now in history, the humans were so complicated that from a practical perspective, it still made sense to believe in free will. Because nobody could understand you better than you understand yourself. You had this inner realm of desires and thoughts and feelings, which you had privileged access to this inner realm. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. We are now hackable animals. We are now hackable animals.
You serious?
Ça, on parle de puces qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans nos topos. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
No! God, please, no! No! No!